Welcome to another episode of Bargain Saturdays. Originally, I was planning on covering An American Tale, The Treasure of Manhattan Island, on Thanksgiving, mostly because it has Native Americans in it, and yeah, I know that's sort of a bullshit reason to cover a movie that has just Native American mice, not actual Native American actors or even Native American characters, really, of historical importance like Pocahontas. But I don't really have any other movies I could pull from, at least concerning the topic, besides maybe some cowboy and Indian stuff. And quite frankly, I don't usually want to use those because they're usually about the Cowboys winning, let's face it. I guess I could do Dances with Wolves, but I don't have a copy of that. At least not for a $5 movie. So, yeah, would have been my only option, basically. But I was just too busy between working 7 hours that morning and needing to burn off stress from being at work on a day I really didn't want to be there. So let's face it, it's a holiday. A family holiday of all things. I don't want to be stuck at work for 7 hours. Just enough to where they don't have to give me a break, or at least a full half-hour break. So they can just keep me on the floor because they know I don't usually take courtesies because I don't care to pay them money to have a drink of water or a soda. Yeah, my workplace is a bit of a. You can have to do some really dick moves to the employees too, I guess. I guess I shouldn't talk about that too much, but yeah, I wasn't too happy Thursday. With that being said, I suppose I should talk about the movie itself, rather than why I was going to talk about it and why I didn't get to it when I wanted to. An American Tale, The Treasure of Manhattan Island, is really a step down from the original movie. It's just much lower on the scale in terms of quality. In fact, it's more like a cartoon series than anything. Like, it's several cartoon series episodes sewn together to create a movie rather than an actual movie. I suppose that's what you get when you get direct to video sequels, but yeah, it's definitely a major step down in terms of quality, both in animation, music, and its story. It's in the writing itself. On the story side of things, you have basically two plots running around. You have Fievel and some of his friends hunting for treasure using a treasure map they found. They'll supposedly take them to the Native American mice's greatest treasure that they buried underneath New York City. But instead of finding treasure, well, I guess Philo gets to see the treasure, and it's just a tapestry showing the history of the tribe itself and why they're now living underground. They find an actual tribe down there, and I have to wonder how that works. While the water issue can be explained because there are water tunnels down there, so there are underground water supplies they could be tapping into, it's not really explained how they're growing plants without sunlight. I mean, I don't think firelight would work all that well in the grand scheme of things for growing plants. Not to mention they'd have to be constantly getting fuel, so I don't know how they're able to grow plants down there. Not to mention, once you go down so far, you get out you're away from topsoil, you're in soil that's not particularly good for growing plants anyway, so it becomes even more iffy how they manage to survive down there. I guess I shouldn't question it because the movie sort of just brushes it aside and just moves on with with the story, but it can be a real immersion breaker if you stop to think about it. And then you have the B plot with Mr. Mauschwitz basically being worked to the bone at his factory job, where the business owners are basically big wigs that are trying to create a massive monopoly for themselves, and then working their employees to death, basically, so they can make as much profit as possible and pay them as little as possible. So eventually, these two plots sort of combine together because the business owners get word of the Native American mice living underneath everyone's feet, and then try to use that knowledge as a fear mongering tactic to get all their workers rallied up behind them, so they can then basically keep working them to the bone without the workers actually complaining about it. Instead, Mr. Mousewitz gets his golden moment to step in and start giving a rousing speech eventually after Operation Distraction with everyone's favorite cat, whose name escapes me right now. Tiger. Yeah, Tiger. Tiger steps in to distract the mob for a bit, and then Mr. Mousewitz makes his speech about how they shouldn't let the factory leaders or owners, owners, I'm sorry, cause them to become divided and completely crazed with fear because they have no reason to believe the Native Americans are going to attack, considering they've been living underneath their feet apparently for years and years and nothing's happened. So it's not worth worrying about that much. Not that's going to stop some people from trying to take them out because they're ruled by fear, but at least it gets the factory workers in a more reasonable state of mind, where they're eventually willing to just, you know what, tell the factory owners, you better treat us right, or we're just gonna go on strike, which they do. But what about the plot with Fievel and his newfound Native American friend? Well, they decide they're going to destroy the entrance to their village underground, so that way no one can get to them, because they don't know how to defend themselves anymore, because it's been so long. Yes, they have deadly booby traps set up, but that was done by their ancestors. So apparently they've been living underground for not for many, many generations, which makes you wonder why people are now all of a sudden scared shitless of them, considering they've been there for basically their entire lives for some people. Again, I get it's not really that well thought out as a plot, is it? It starts to sound really convoluted when you think about it. But they eventually break down the tunnel so no one else can get in. And they show Fievel that there's secret entrances still in New York City that he could potentially use to go visit them. Why they do this, I don't know. Maybe they just felt like Fievel had a right to know that they're still around and he can go see them. Not that that's ever going to happen. Then again, you could argue the story of this movie is almost entirely going to be bogus, considering, well, they basically say the second movie just never happened. They get around the fact that they're not in the Wild West anymore. They're in Manhattan again. I'm surprised they didn't bring that up earlier, but yeah. The movie dismisses the second movie as just a dream. Ridiculous. In terms of music, well, there's only really 3 songs in this movie in comparison to the first movie, which had more than that. So basically, we have an opening song, which is sort of meh. We have a song that actually feels more in line with the original movie, with Fievel and his newfound female friends singing about dreams. And then we have the villain song, where they sing about how they're friends of the working mouse. And it's completely obviously meant to be ironic, because they're not the friends of the working mouse. They're their enemy. But I'm not sure why we had to have an antagonist song. And to be quite honest, besides having some catchy lyrics, I just really wish the song didn't exist. It goes on for far longer than it needed to, in my opinion, with a whole bunch of verses. And it's like, just stop. The villains didn't need their own song. Not to mention, if you're only going to have 3 songs, you could at least have made sure the first opening song was a lot better than meh. In terms of animation, it's definitely a step down as well, which isn't surprising again. It's a direct-to-video sequel, so it's more on level with a cartoon series, and it definitely has a more cartoony approach to some of the animation techniques. Well, some of the animated things that go on screen, like Fievel's head getting bigger or smaller to match bottles or glasses he's looking through. It's just not it's just not something I wanted to really see, as it gets more cartoonish in comparison to the original movie. I know, direct-to-video sequels, they gotta cut corners somewhere and try and fit in the really little kitty laughs, but the movie just didn't need them. As long as you can capture the feel of the first one, you could definitely get away without having those more rubbery animated effects going on. Overall, well, I think I summed it up already. This is just a major step down in comparison to the first movie. How it stands up against the second movie, I couldn't tell you, because I haven't seen that one probably about a decade. And it's not one I've seen in the $5 bin just yet. But I'm sure it'll get in there eventually. Maybe eventually I'll see Balto 3 in there, because it's the only Balto movie I've never seen. Till next time, then. See ya.
Remember, there are lots of ways to skin a cat.
I beg your pardon?
Never mind.
Move along.
Oh, I just love my new job.